Welcome to Cooking Up Science with Pulses. We're really excited to be here today, and we're going to give you a great demonstration. So thank you all for coming. Has everyone had a good show? Yay. Yeah, good.
Woohoo.
This is my first time at IFT, so it's pretty fabulous. It was nice to be here. I'm assuming that most of you know what pulses are, and you came here to find more about the fabulous things you can do with them. But in case some of you don't know, I will tell you. Pulses are the dry edible seeds of plants that grow within a pod that are part of the legume family. So now I have a trivia question for those of you who do know what pulses are. What are the most common types of pulses? Who can tell me? Janice Ruida? Chickpeas? There's actually the most common beans, peas, lentils, and chickpeas. Yeah, are the most common. Yes, yes. Who can tell me? Here's another bonus trivia. Okay, who can tell me what are considered legumes but are not pulses? Janice? Maybe. Yeah, soy. Something else similar to peanuts. Soy and peanuts are legumes, but they're not pulses. And also, fresh beans and fresh peas have a higher moisture content and are not considered pulses. Pulses are the dry seeds. So maybe some of you learned something. This is great. My name is Julianne Curran, and I'm from Pulse Canada. We are sponsoring this demo here today in collaboration with our friends from the U.S. Pea and Lentil Council. They're at booth 657 if you haven't been over there. And Mackenzie is right here in the front row. So both of our organizations represent growers and processors of pulses throughout North America. And we are a really great resource for information related to all of the types of ingredients that are available, functionality, the research that's going on related to nutrition health. So feel free to, at any time, contact either of us or either of our organizations. We have a wide range of expertise between us all. So we'd be happy to hear from you. My background is in nutritional science, and my colleague Tanya, who's standing at the back here, she'll give a wave. She is a food scientist. And we are really fortunate because we actually have a colleague that is a chef. And so lunches within our office are pretty fabulous sometimes. So I want to introduce Christine Farkas.
Hello.
So Christine is a chef and a culinary whiz. Before coming to work with Pulse Canada, she has done product development for food manufacturers. And I'm just fascinated by Christine's talent to really use flavor to create the most tasty products and dishes with pulse ingredients that are actually really nutritious and healthy. And I think that that's a great talent that she has. And I encourage you to check out the nutritional information on the recipes that she's going to be demonstrating today, because they're really high fiber, high protein products that she's going to make. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Christine to demonstrate to you the variety and versatility that's available with pulses.
Great. Well, thanks for the introduction, Julianne. Can everyone hear me properly? This thing's a little bit, there we go. Okay. Hi, I'm Christine, and I'm so happy everyone's here. This is wonderful, and I can't wait to share some information with all of you. So I should probably point out most of the recipes that we're showcasing here today are on the nutrient-dense side. There is one that's on the indulgent side, so you'll probably notice it as we start handing out the samples. Once we hand out the samples, I'll just kind of give you a go through as to what we're going to be serving on one plate. There's going to be a trail mix made with a germinated lentil, roasted lentil mixed with oats and a few other ingredients as well. Then we go on the savory route. We'll be showcasing a trail mix, a Cajun lentil trail mix with chocolate, dark chocolate and cherries. And then blending it up, we have a gazpacho. And then, of course, we have the little brownie that I was telling you about. So to get things started, it's so exciting to work with pulses from my perspective. It's like a kid in a candy shop. There's so many different opportunities to incorporate pulses. We're looking at whole ones over here, whole, split, like they're every color of the rainbow, and they're just so fabulous to use in application. And often the color is retained. So we're going to be showcasing germinated lentils today, and what I did in advance, just because you can't sit here and watch them sprout before your eyes, I did start to soak them in advance, and they start to sprout a little bit. This one can actually use an additional day, but what you'll notice with this red split lentil, this is what it would normally look like, split, beautiful orange, ready to go. I just soaked it for about 2 days. You could go up to 3. It starts to produce this little tail, and it's beautiful. So you can actually eat that raw. You can have it in a nice roasted application. You could even blend it into different applications. And in terms of bioavailability, Julian can probably speak on this part. It's a little bit more nutrient dense.
Yeah, the generally germination process can improve the flavor and can also increase the content of some nutrients and increase their bioavailability. So that's advantages of doing that.
And they're a little bit sweeter too. So if you're popping a germinated pulse into a salad, you're getting this crunch element. So you can have whole lentils, you can have split, which is a little bit softer, that breaks down a little bit easier. But they're a little bit sweeter and they're a little interesting. So they liven up that salad. So I roasted them, so they're nice and dry, just like this. I'll talk to you first about, I guess we can start handing out the samples so people can try them as we're talking about them. I'm not making this one in front of you today, but this is the roasted germinated lentil trail mix, granola. That's just topped on the granola, the yogurt. So you can try that one first. There are oats in here, so when we're looking at protein, we're combining these plant-based proteins. We have some seeds, and we sweeten it with just a little bit of honey. There's also some ground up cinnamon in there, and also some orange zest. So it livens it up a little bit more. So just plop that right on. We have a nice amount of protein in there, fiber. It's great. It's more of a soft granola, so feel free to give that a try. There's a little spoon in there. And this is great if you want to freeze it and keep it for an extended period of time as well. I've also tossed some hemp seeds in there to bump up the protein and healthy fats. Okay, so what you can do with sweet, you can also do with savory, and this is what I love. Pulses in general are very neutral in flavor, especially if you're roasting them out. You get a little bit of that nutty tone, which is exciting. So what I've done already, I've already tossed our nuts together. So in here, in our trail mix, we have some slivered almonds, we have some pecans, we have some sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds. You pretty much can find anything in your cupboard and toss them in, and you can make a wicked mix. So this is in here. I'm just going to add a little bit of oil. Excellent. Oh, of course, I'm going to add my lentils. What I'll do, I'll reserve some if anybody wants to try it on its own. It's pretty fun. So right in there. Mix up that oil. Don't need a whole lot. Actually, a lot goes a long way just because of all the nuts. They do ooze some out in the process. And what I like to do actually with this, I like to use raw almonds, raw nuts, or just unflavored ones. So you can add your own flavor. You know what you're working with at the end of the day. You're not adding too much salts unless you want to go the real savory route. So there we go. So with this Cajun lentil mix, we're just using chili powder. We're using garlic, onion powder. We're also using a little bit of cayenne for added kick, so you can bump it up if you love a lot of heat. Feel free to do that. Black pepper and some salt. I like using a finer salt with this just because I know we mentioned kosher salt in the recipe, but I like using a finer just because it distributes evenly and it goes around the nuts and the seeds really well. And with something like this is, you know, you work with your taste. If you want it spicier, add more spice. If you want it sweeter, add more honey, which I'll be doing shortly. Toss it all together just like this. This honey mellows it out, so we're playing in that sweet and savory application.
How's everything tasting so far? Great flavor. I think that Christine just does a fantastic job.
But yeah, so if you can just have the parfait, we'll work through all the different samples together. There we go. So it's just like this, very simple, very straightforward, and you just toss on into a tray like this, and what you'll end up with is that trail mix that you have, and you can give that a try when your palate's ready. So when you're actually roasting, you don't want to crowd it. I should mention, you don't want to crowd it just because it'll start to steam and then you don't get that nice crunchy texture, or it'll take a lot longer to actually bake off. You might get burnt, awkward edges, and you don't want that bitter note in your trail mix. So that is the trail mix. Any questions on that? Okay.
As Christine mentioned, this is a great way to get a high protein snack. So there's fiber and protein in there, and I think that that's the real opportunity, is blending of the cereal-based proteins with pulse-based proteins, because you get not only a higher protein content, but also a better protein quality when you combine them together, because they complement each other with their amino acid profile. So it's a really good opportunity to get a healthier snack.
Totally, and I should mention, you're going to be roasting this or baking in the oven for at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for about 10 minutes. Give it a nice little swirl in 10 minutes, and just depending on your oven and how strong it is, if you have an awesome convection oven, it'll be much faster. And just watch it, because once it gets brown, it'll just get a lot darker once you leave it in. So there's that, and it's great. You can freeze it. You can have it with a lot of different beverages. Beer is great with this, just to let you know. Okay, so that's the trail mix and the granola. So next up, when you're ready, we're going to be showing the gazpacho. So who here has had gazpacho before? Oh, awesome. Okay, so we have some gazpacho connoisseurs. I'm a little bit nervous now. So in this case, what we really want to showcase is how you can puree lentils right into the gazpacho, bump up the fiber, bump up the protein in a great way. So in this case, we're using cooked red lentils, but you can use white beans, you can use black beans. Obviously, it'll change the color. We're using, sorry, this is actually a green lentil, and it'll make it a little bit dark. So if you're wanting like that nice, bright orange, if you want to maintain that color, use something a little bit lighter like this. Like I said before, they're quite neutral in flavor, so they really take on the flavor profile of the gazpacho. So in here we have peppers, we have fresh tomatoes, this is the traditional one. We have some spicy sauce, and this is actually very flavorful chili pepper sauce. Some cucumbers, we have some jalapeno, lemon juice, and yeah, there we go. So this is all in here. Now I'm just going to add our cooked lentils. Make sure they're cooked. Now this is actually, if you're going more the raw food route, you can also use sprouted lentils or sprouted beans. Those are actually very tasty too. All right, first time using this one.
So Christine has done a lot with making smoothies with also the pureed pulses, and wait till she's done.
Sorry.
It's okay.
All right, this will be quick. And what I'm going to do now is add a little bit of oil, because you'll notice it gets really foamy. And that's fine, that's totally natural. This will just kill it a little bit. So you can pretty much process it as much or as little as you like. I'm also going to add some hot sauce. So this is a little bit less dark than the other ones. So if you're using more of a neutral colored lentil, or pulse, or even red kidney beans would be great in this as well, cooked of course. It's great. It applies really, really well. And what I love to do with this is just this is what I actually did with the gazpacho that you're trying right now. You process it in advance. If you let it sit overnight in the refrigerator, the flavors really have the opportunity to commingle and blend. And it's, when you make a soup at home or at work, you try it the first day, it does not taste the same as the second. This is the same thing. So you need that time just to commingle those flavors, and the flavor and the colors will develop as well. So of course you want to try it. This is a little bit frothier, which is great, has volume. And I love to serve it with just a little bit of sour cream, cilantro. You adjust the spice and seasoning as desired. So has everyone tried their gazpacho? Okay, gazpacho people, do you approve? Okay, what's also great is if you add vodka. It's a nice kick actually, like it's just a little bit, and it just adds that element that just takes it to the next level, which is really nice.
So,
you don't have to. But.
So Christine's shown us so far. We haven't even touched whole cooked pulses, or well, I guess with this one we use them to puree. But there's just a lot of different ways you can use pulses, and so whether you do them sprouted, roasted, pureed. I was mentioning Christine has used a lot of the purees in smoothies, and you can see from the nutritional information for the gazpacho, very high amounts of protein and fiber in there. So good way to boost that. You can also use the purees. They work well in baking applications and also in meat applications to reduce the fat in meat. So there's a lot of versatility there that you can do with the ingredient.
Yeah, and it's always fun, especially within protein beverages. If you're looking for a post-workout beverage, or before you're going out to run or do something athletic. Of course, it's easy to incorporate, and they're quite neutral. So if you're using acidic fruits and vegetables, great combination. You can include dairy as well, but I love to pair it up with like a nice citrus vibe, and usually it blends, and it just it works really well. And you can also freeze it, so you can have like these little smoothie pops as well. So if you don't finish all your smoothie, you can just throw it into a nice cube tray and freeze it up, and it freezes really well. So that was the gazpacho. What would you add to this? Would you add anything a little bit interesting, or would you try something different? Oh, that would be very good. Yes, chunks of
Great
avocado.
suggestion.
That would be delicious. And with this is a smooth one, of course. You can also chop up some nice vegetables so you have that texture, so you're not just drinking a puree, and it applies really well. But I love the avocado idea. That sounds very good. Okay, so on to dessert. I guess the final item that you have on your plate over there is just the black bean brownie, so made with black bean flour, and we're using some pea fiber and also some pea protein. So I'm pretty excited about this one because this is a go-to every time we have an event, or if I need to make something well in advance. It's excellent. You can freeze it. So what I've done over here, I've already melted the chocolate and the butter. How can you go wrong with those ingredients? Fully melted it. Now I like to use a dark chocolate. Semi-sweet works really well. If you're using a milk chocolate, I find that it's a lot looser in the pan, but it eventually will thicken up as you bake it. So this is actually a semi-sweet right here. So this is ready to go. It's not too hot because we'll be incorporating some egg. So what I want to do first is blend all of my, like most cake recipes, you want to blend all of your dry ingredients. So we have this black bean flour. It's beautiful. It's from Best Cooking Pulses. And there's a little bit of flex in there as well, so it looks interesting. There's some cocoa powder. All right, we have some pea protein. And we have a little bit of pea fiber. And these ingredients right here, the pea fiber and pea protein, I included because it helps it to freeze well, it helps everything congeal and stay together a lot better. So of course there's eggs, but the original recipe did have some xanthan gum, but we want to experiment with some pulse ingredients, and this being one of them.
I wanted to mention that the ingredients Christine's using, the outer pea fiber and the black bean flour, are from Best Cooking Pulses. And we have Margaret actually is right here, but it's booth number 1237 if you want to go and see her. And then the pea protein is from AGT Foods, and they're at booth 1938.
I like to add a little bit of salt. What's fun with this, if you add some kosher salt, it's nice and coarse, and it'll maintain its shape for the most part when you bake it off. So you get these fun little crystals of salt, so you get that sweet and savory application. This is just, oh, I almost poured it. This is just sea salt. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this in there. Ooh, not too much. And if you want to get really crazy, you can add some cayenne pepper so you have that spice, which is always pretty fun. So this is a nice little platform to work with. And what I find using pulse flours and pulse ingredients, for the most part, they don't clump. You'll find that cocoa is a little bit clumpy in here, but you just whisk it together and it brings it together really, really well. So no clumping, which is excellent. Saves you a step from sifting. Okay, so with the chocolate over here, now that it's at more of a room temperature, I'm going to add our sugar right in there. I told you this is an indulgent recipe. Can you see this from the... Perfect. So right in there.
We saved the best for last. This is a tasty one.
Okay, so once the sugar is in, it's nice and coarse, I'm going to add an egg one at a time. Woo. Excellent. And if you whisk it quite a bit, you'll develop this little aerated effect within the brownie. Now, I'll tell you a secret once I get closer to that stage. Great. Do we have any brownie connoisseurs in this audience? Okay. Excellent. Right in there, perfect. And number 3. So this definitely helps to bind it as well, the eggs. Adds that richness that we're looking for when it comes to a brownie. Everything in moderation, I say. There we go. Beautiful, okay. And now our flour mix, right in there. Now you can of course use a KitchenAid. It's always awesome if you're using or making a larger batch. That really helps if you're using a mixer, if you're making this. And this recipe can be doubled, it can be tripled, and it usually works really well. You can also use different pulse flours. So if you're looking at chickpea, if you're looking at pea flour, great options. This is black bean. There we go. So you just want to make sure you get everything and it's nice and consistent. My goal is not to get chocolate on my shirt, so we're okay so far. Now with this, you can also add some other fun ingredients at this stage. What I like to do is add some more chocolate. We're going the fudge route, so I like to drop them right in there. You'll probably notice a crunch when you're eating the brownie that you have this little chocolate chip piece. It's a little fun. You can also add some dried fruits to it too. And if you want to be really experimental, you can add some whole pulses. So whole lentils, whole beans, little navy beans would be pretty interesting. Okay. Right into a butter-lined pan with foil. You don't need to use foil, but I like to use it. It's easy to clean up. You can use parchment paper. And what I noticed, the longer I let this sit, the more the flour does absorb the excess moisture. So it's good to get it in the pan pretty fast. Not terribly fast, you don't have to run, but just get it in there. Okay.
Some of you, in addition to the recipe sheet that we left on your seat, you may have seen this handout, and this is something we are extremely excited about. In 2016, the UN has declared it's going to be International Year of Pulses. And we're absolutely thrilled with the opportunity to just raise awareness of this category of really phenomenal foods that are so nutritious, have so much variety and versatility. So we just wanted to let you know about that and watch for more on Pulses in 2016. We'll be back here at IFT doing some really great things. So we hope that you'll be able to join in our celebrations with us.
There's one last thing I want to mention as well. With this brownie, I'll be baking at 350, and what you normally would do is just sit it out on the ledge once it's done baking. If you're wanting to go with this nice fudge texture, freeze it. Make sure you're not pressing it up against frozen meat in the freezer, but it really helps to break it down. It doesn't rise, it doesn't become dry, it's nice and fudgy. So
we still have a lot of samples left. If anybody's still hungry and wants to have some more, please feel free to help yourselves. Just again wanted to mention Pulse Canada, US Dry Pea and Lentil Council. Contact us anytime. You can come and meet us, get our cards, go and see Mackenzie at booth 657. And thank you all for coming. We really enjoyed being able to present this to you.